Okay. I think I'm live. I'm sorry for the delay. I think I'm here, but YouTube's whole interface looks like completely different, and it's really hard for me. And I was confused when I got in here trying to figure out like if it's working or not. I genuinely still can't tell. They changed all of it, and I don't know. The whole interface looks different. But it looks okay. It looks like we're okay. Um, yeah, it looks like we're okay. Let me know if anything looks different on your guys' end, because on my side the whole stream interface is different. Like on YouTube, on Streamlabs everything looks normal, but I like to make sure. So just let me know because it's confusing me. Um, it's confusing me and it's throwing me for a loop here in terms of the everything. It's all working okay because I can't see like usually I can see like numbers and stats and all sorts of shit showing up, but now it's just like a big screen, the chat, and then a graph that usually has viewers and stuff, and none of it's working like at all. So anyway, that's it. Thanks for letting me know. Hopefully everything's okay there. But yes, do have a few things I want to talk about today. Do have a few things I want to get into. I want to speak about this Zirkzee story as well as the potential for United to be looking into a new striker. This is something I was aware of, that I've been, especially when it's outside the window. I try to make sure I'm getting things really confirmed. I don't really rush with any sort of news. But I did share this in the Patreon 3 days ago and 6 days ago. Some story there, just the information that I had, that there was a decent chance that we'd be potentially looking for a new striker in January, and that potentially Zirkzee would be leaving in January as well. So there is some truth certainly into this story, at least from some side of it. It's early on, and we are seeing the effects of a limited number of games. Unfortunately, obviously, it's creating a little bit of a clash here, in terms of minutes availability, players being able to play. All of that has definitely been causing a fair few issues. Yeah, so it's been a bit of a clash, and then obviously I know there's a little thing here about Cubby again as well that I'll get into. People aren't gonna like my opinions on this, and they're not, and I'm gonna get massive amounts of accusations of having something to do with just being blindly looking at Ruben Amorim. Didn't I mention it a few lives ago? I think I did drop a hint. About that, D-Ray, as well. But let's talk about the striker first, and then we'll get to Kobbie Mainoo and talk about some of that as well. I don't know honestly how much more can be said about the Kobbie Mainoo situation, but I do want to talk about it. I really, really do want to speak about that as well. All right, we will start with discussion over Zirkzee. Move on. All right, start with Zirkzee. So, yeah, the World Cup thing is a complication here, no doubt about that. I mean, the issue I think that we've had with Zirkzee is that one. Oh, thank you, Raj. I'll call you Raj. One, he got injured at a really bad time. He missed the entirety of preseason. I was really looking forward to Zirkzee playing. I had high hopes for Zirkzee that he would have a really good season, that this would be like a bit of a breakout year. He got injured at the wrong time, so he wasn't really fully fit match fit to get going to start the year. And now Šeško's gotten going and all of that, and it's sort of just there's not much for him. There's not much for him, there. And obviously he's not a perfect fit for what we're trying to do at the present moment in time. He certainly doesn't offer you really like a like for like of what Benjamin Šeško does. I don't, from a Zirkzee standpoint, I feel as though it's like that one is quite understandable in both directions. Why he would be, not super happy with his situation at the moment. And when you look at it objectively, you can say United could sell him. I like him a lot. I like what he brings to the table, I like his skill set. But who's he going to start over in the long term? You know what I mean? Like he doesn't bring necessarily the pace and power. I wish we could have, we really do have a bit of a tough present situation here, because it would be good to have a full squad of players, It would be really good to have a full squad of players, but you can even kind of look at like the Kabi situation even connected to the Zirkzee situation. Because if Zirkzee is an option at the 10 and he's coming on at the 10, which he has, in theory, you could be giving those minutes to Kabi, or you could be pushing Bruno up there so Kabi can come deep earlier. So at this point in time, like without a ton of games, having been played, Josh has only played in 3 games. Fine. He's played a total of 82 minutes, but you could technically have still given those minutes probably to add to Kabi's minutes. Frankly, one way or another, you could have probably given those minutes to Kabi. Instead, you're sort of picking Zirkzee, picking Kabi. Like it's almost like, well, who do you bring on? I don't know. Because you could push Bruno up, you could to the 10 and drop Manu deeper. You could bring Manu on as a 10. There's different things you could do while Bruno's still on the pitch in order to do lots of, to just change things, I guess. So I don't know. It's Zirkzee leaving could, in theory, if he's not coming on, because he's kind of come on as a 10 at times, it could change things. I did think he was good against Burnley, though, and I think he was good in a few other instances. And I'd like it to work, but unfortunately, it feels like we're reaching a little bit of an end of a rope. Here's what I said, and I'm sorry if you can't read this. It's going to be really small. I said, we might be discussing a veteran striker for January. Now, that was October 1st, 9 p.m. Do you like the new badge on the merchandise you can see there? I think it's a lot nicer, honestly. I'm thinking we'll do the full rebrand soon on it. I'm really happy with it. But yeah, this is what I heard on October 1st. We might be discussing a veteran striker for January. I shared that in the Patreon. So again, outside the window especially, usually there's stuff in there. And then this is what I said 3 days ago. Zirkzee leaving in January for Welbeck and funding a new midfielder. Watch this space. Now, look, it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek with my suggestion there. I'm just being honest. What I was suggesting there, a little bit tongue-in-cheek. But Danny Welbeck has been on our list. We know. It was reported by Laurie Whitwell as well as others that Danny Welbeck has been on our list. Kuga Chang, welcome to the Pro Muppet. Thank you. He has been on our list. Maybe we bring him back. But yes, I was definitely something that's been under discussion as a possibility that Joshua Zirkzee may leave here in January. Obviously, he potentially wants to leave. We're suffering a bit by the lack of games, because it would be great to have a squad full of players, right? It would be great to have a squad full of players like Zirkzee and others and have more minutes to go around. But we don't at the moment. And it puts us in a bit of a rock and a hard place. I understand why players are concerned about their times. I understand that. I get it. It makes sense. I'm not, you know, I would preach patience to anybody. I would preach patience to the players involved in all of this. I would preach a little bit of just hold on, you know, just wait a little bit, just relax, you know, and you know, and chill and see what happens next, you know, in the next bit. You know, we need to get back into Europe. We need to get back in these competitions. Yeah, the Grimsby and Spurs defeat hurt. It did. Not having European football and losing to in the League Cup hurt. But at the same time, the players who played in those games certainly have to be somewhat responsible for all of this. Calm down, everything's okay. Yeah, like the players are also responsible for the fact that we have fewer games. Like it's not, it can't just be blamed on one person or another, you know? Well, everybody has a part to play in that situation, in our lack of success and our, you know, inability to have more games. Now, we know we get into the FA Cup, at least there's a few more games. AFCON is coming. And I would kind of say to people, by the way, like just, by the way, AFCON is coming. And, you know, we're going to lose quite a few players here. We're going to lose Ahmad. We're going to lose Mbeumo. We've got a few going for at least a bit. And there's going to be some opportunities. I'm very worried about our play without a winger during AFCON, to be quite honest. Low-key, Elliot Anders. I don't even think, honestly, it's so hard to have an honest conversation about it, Hamza, but there's plenty of midfielders better than Kobbie Mainoo right now. Plenty. That's not to say he's not a great talent and all of that, and I would love nothing more than Kobbie Mainoo to stay, but there's plenty of midfielders who are better than Kobbie Mainoo today, right now. There just are, and there's plenty who have been doing it for longer as well, and there's plenty that have done more with the opportunities that they've had as of now. Okay, that's the truth. We may not love that, but it is the truth, and it certainly has to be somewhat considered. But, you know, at the same time, right around the corner. Yeah. At the same time, you know, with Zirkzee, the other issue we have is that he doesn't play the same as what we would want out of a striker. And, you know, he doesn't play the same as what we want. He doesn't play the same as Šeško does. He doesn't play the same as, I mean, we even had issues last year, obviously, where, you know, obviously we kept trying to play Rasmus Højlund because we wanted a little bit more of a, you know, just a more traditional striker. And the system still, and most of the things that we've done have still constituted wanting a bit more of a traditional striker. I mean, when Ten Hag was here and he brought Zirkzee in when Højlund was injured in the beginning, he was in and then he was out pretty quickly once Højlund was back, even when Højlund wasn't doing great. Yeah, Zirkzee is a bit of a strange player. I thought he would play into the 10s as well. I thought he would play into the 10s as well, but he hasn't at the moment. I don't know why. I can't say that I know why. I mean, look, I think it's a tough conversation here in terms of why some players aren't playing as much and some continue to play and all of that. I mean, I understand why Mbeumo's playing every game. I understand why Mount's playing. I understand why Cunha's playing. I understand why Ahmad is playing. I get that. But at the same time, like, you know, it's difficult. It's difficult. He doesn't fit the style. He's a bit of a Zirkzee's a bit of an in-betweener for any style, though, frankly. Like, he is a little bit of an in-betweener. There was an idea when we bought Joshua Zirkzee last year, which I think speaks to maybe a mistake we made in recruitment when we were still not prepared.
Bro, what would you say is our most likely Jan window?
Most likely? I mean, most likely is, I would say, a midfielder. Obviously, I could say Baleba, but we'll kind of get to that and see. Maybe it is, maybe it's somebody else, because it's hard to know what other clubs are doing. and we're going to be competing. Most likely that, and I could see two signings in January. A midfielder, and then it'll either be another forward or a wing back, I would imagine, or someone who's a winger who can play at wing back type of thing as well. But we might have some sales too, for sure. So yeah, I mean, it's just he's a bit of an in-betweener, is Zirkzee, and I think part of the problem was we bought Zirkzee when we were kind of deciding. There was a weird period at the end of Ten Hag's era, right, when we went to that false nine kind of setup briefly, and there was an idea. That summer, that, all right, well, Ten Hag is going to stay. We can't change that right now. We don't have our recruitment team in place. We don't have a lot. What could we do to try to make this work? And one of the ideas was this sort of false nine idea. Run a false nine.
When Zirkzee drops deep or involved in build-up, United sometimes lack presence in the box.
Yeah.
So the style becomes less effective.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was kind of an idea with Ten Hag there, and we were still trying to figure out what the hell we were going to do stylistically and all of that. And I would say in that sense, it was a bit of a weird recruitment. You know, we got some good players in, mind you. Lenny Yoro was like a totally separate to Ten Hag or coach thing. He was like this world-class player we want to get. Worked out well. De Ligt, we needed center backs. We got
Bro, how much do you think we'll spend in Jan?
Depends, man. We could spend a lot. Genuinely. 70, 80 million or something like that. We could spend a lot. But no, like, and then it was just weird. Ten Hag started with it, went away from it really quickly. I'm not trying to turn this into yet another Ten Hag bashing session. I'm just explaining here that one of the reasons Ten Hag got sacked is that he very quickly deviated from the plan that they started and worked with in preseason. And they felt as though, you know, well, we bought players to try to work towards a very specific way of playing. And then it just went to shit and it changed really fast, you know, but it was, the idea was Zirkzee to drop in, Rashford and Garnacho, etc., running behind him. Yeah, it was the idea to go with look, just to be clear on one point, there was a strong idea predating Amorim that this club was going to play a more direct vertical style of football than City or Arsenal play. That has always been the idea since the management has come in terms of this shared game model and shit like that, was to play more direct. Well, that was kind of the idea, but there's a few problems with it. It was deviated from right away, and then they brought in a manager that's more focused on a traditional number 9. Rashford's gone, Garnacho's gone. You know, we have different types of forwards. You know, the whole profiles, everything went to shit, you know, all in one. And I think, unfortunately, that Josh is a bit of a what do you call it? A casualty of the transitional time that United have been in, because I really do think he's a good player. He is one, though, that I think it just makes sense that, unfortunately, it's just not gonna, it may not work. I would love to see him stay. I'd love to see him get more chances. I'd love to see him, you know, kick on and do really well, because he's a good player. But then he got injured all preseason too, and how much effect does that have in terms of rhythm? I mean, look at Šeško, look at Lamens. It took them a month to get going as starters. Well, if Zirkzee was injured all preseason, didn't get any time with the team to play, unfortunately, that has had an impact on his selectability to start the year. And now you say, what are you going to do with a player like this? And it's not an easy answer. So, and obviously for him as well. And, you know, for him as well, it might be the best thing that he does go to a different club. If he goes somewhere else, United only paid that 36 million or whatever it was for him at the time. 36 million pounds, 37 was it? So 37, you know, realistically, like if United got 20 million back, they would be okay. It would be covered. It would open up some more space in the market and he could go somewhere else. I know for sure that there are clubs in Italy that are interested and would probably pay that money for him. There are clubs in Italy that were still very interested in him. He wanted to stay. I really think he got, it was really unfortunate, the timing of his injury too. Sometimes that's what happens though. You know, you get injured, you get more shit happening. But at the same time, it's like, I think that United may push to keep a little bit because we do need a squad next year. We can't just lose all our squad options. And that's where it's hard to you want to preach like patience. And I get it. I get why players are struggling, especially in a World Cup year and all of that. I get it. But next year, we'll need many more players. We'll need many more players next year. Like, well, assuming we get Europe, mind you. If we don't get Europe, there will be an exodus, okay? No doubt about that. If we don't get Europe, there's going to be a significant exodus of players, okay? So don't get me wrong there, but if we do get Europe as expected, then we're going to need these guys. There's going to be a lot more minutes to go around if we're back in Europe, like a lot more minutes to go around. With the enhanced game schedule, you're talking about potentially 13, like 12 more games, next season in the first half of the season. It's like, it's rough. An argument for keeping is we want different, who offer different things. Correct. Yeah, it's just that obviously with the limited number of games, we're more aiming right now for continuity than change. So, yeah, we need to get into Europe. And then we'll need these players. But if we don't get into Europe, then we're going to struggle with these guys. Honestly, we're going to struggle with these guys. We're going to lose a lot of players if we don't get into Europe. But this year, obviously, it's already taking a bit of an effect. And two of, I would say, the biggest casualties of it are Josh and Kobe right now at the moment. They certainly are. And that's rough. It's rough. Just also, unfortunately, a degree of where we're at. So in terms of Zirkzee, there is a chance he will leave in January. I don't think it's been decided yet. Obviously, he would be also... part of it is his impetus to potentially want to leave in January as well. We'll see what the next few weeks bring. I mean, part of it is that, like, shit happens. One injury happens, and suddenly a player can be very useful, very valuable.
More links.
More
Maybe
links.
United DID forward my scouting email.
Maybe.
Cool face emoji.
Maybe, buddy. Thank you for the membership continuing. But yeah, maybe. More. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting dilemma we find ourselves in. I mean, again, yeah. It's just an interesting dilemma, that we find ourselves in here, unfortunately. So I don't know what's going to happen with Josh, but I do know that this is being considered. This striker situation is being considered. I would suspect that they want to keep him, based on what I've heard, or ideally would, but are looking at the idea of potentially bringing in somebody there. There's still time. This decision won't be more made until somewhere like December. So another month and a half. Let's see what happens. It's the international break. Players are concerned about being left out. Yeah, it's that, right? We're in an international break. Not in the squad for the national team, and noise stirs. But there is truth in it. There are concerns forming here, probably mostly from his side, but it's something that United are looking at. So that is Zirkzee. That's Zirkzee. There's still time. There's still time to get more minutes, to get into the team, to do all of that. No doubt about that. The next thing is obviously Kobbie Mainoo. There's been like stories and things that come out pretty much every few weeks about this at this point in time. And yeah, I don't know what to say about it, to be honest. Like, I understand, again, the difficulty. I understand the position that players in and things like that. But like I've said before, and I'll maintain this kind of position, I really, really don't think that I'm not a fan of the strong arm press tactics. Like I'm not a fan of the strong arm in the media tactics. Deal with it. I just don't agree. And I never will. And to be very clear here, because I know exactly what I'm going to get accused for here. Under Erik ten Hag, a manager that I really didn't like, you all know, I held the exact same standard for Alejandro Garnacho. Did I not? You can all confirm that. You all know it. I said that for me, Alejandro Garnacho, I was incredibly unhappy with when he was leaking and doing things against a manager when it was Ten Hag, a manager I really didn't like. It, for me, has absolutely nothing to do with who the manager is. I said it was wrong when Pogba was doing it under Jose. I said it was wrong when Martial was doing it under Jose. I've said it's been wrong every single time it has happened, regardless of the manager. It is massively dangerous. And it massively set the club back those years ago when the club sided with Pogba and Martial over Jose. And Pogba was a better player than Kobbie Mainoo, who was coming at off a World Cup win for France, one of the best midfielders in the world performing at that time. And it still was this war between the manager and players. I'm just never going to agree on this front. But like I said, I really did not like. I really, really did not like when there was games being played on Garnacho's front because he was unhappy about not starting. When it was Ten Hag, I'm never going to change my view on that. To me, it's really dangerous. And it's to me, it speaks to the culture that United that I'm just not a fan of. It's not to say players shouldn't want to play more. It's not to say that players shouldn't want to have that. It's not even to say players can't want to leave. I don't like when it gets put up into the media and things like that on that front. I'm just never going to agree to it. I'm just never going to agree to it. You know, the fact that 2 games into the season we got all those stories, just never going to agree to it. I'm never going to be too happy. I'm never going to get on board with that because I think it's a huge problem in the culture that is at United in general. You know, I can think that a player deserves to play more and at the same time say that the noise is not correct and the way that it's being put through media has not been correct. Both of those things can be true, and that's how I feel about it. And the thing is, people always do this. I'm sorry, but I have to disagree. Every time it happens, people say, well, actually, it's okay, you know? And then they say, oh, well, you know, player power runs this club. And then, you know, people, it has nothing to do with Ruben. It's respect for the club. It's respect for essentially the office, you know, of the manager. It's respect for lots of these things. It just doesn't really matter to me. You can't strong arm the club or the manager into playing you. We don't know what goes on in training. We don't know what goes on behind the scenes. We don't know any of those things. We don't. We just don't. It's really, really easy for a player, any player under any manager, to complain that they're being treated unfairly. What we don't know is what goes on behind the scenes.
It's really worrying that Kobbie already leaked twice in less than 6 months his frustration. He needs to man up and takes his chances.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like I'm saying, it's the reason why to me it's not acceptable is because you just don't know what's going on behind the scenes. How is he training? How is he doing? Do we actually know for sure that he deserves to be starting at this point in time? I think so. That's just my opinion. It's just my opinion. But it's really easy. Otherwise, the manager has to come out and say, yeah, he's training like shit. He's training like shit. If to defend himself, he has to say he's training like shit. But you can't go back and forth. I say that I think, it's an impossible situation to be in to even talk about. I say, how do we know? The idea that Ruben never played Kabi, by the way, is total bullshit too. I'm gonna give you a couple examples. All right, here's a little bit of a problem that you have that Kabi Menu has. Okay. Here's a little bit of a problem that Kabi Menu has. First of all, he was injured for the entirety of the World Cup qualifications last year. He was injured for half the Europa campaign last year. He was injured for the entire, or not in the squad, probably because of injuries last year as well. When you're talking about the World Cup and trying to pin it all on Amorim, where was he? He wasn't in the national team last year either, by the way. So it wasn't just Amorim why Kabi Menu is not in the English national team. Was he playing in these games or not? He was already out of the national team for injury or otherwise before Ruben Amorim even arrived, for what it's worth. Trying to pin it all on the manager is just incorrect. He was injured for half the Europa League campaign. He got injured twice during the season last year. This is when Ruben Amorim arrived. He started basically every single game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 out of 11 games when Ruben Amorim arrived. He started 10 out of 11 games when Ruben Amorim arrived. You know what happened during those two months? Ahmad also got his chances. And Ahmad agreed a new contract and signed it. And he stayed at the club. And now he's continuing to get his chances. Kabi got injured again during an important run-up. And then he started again. 1, 2, 3, 4 games. Then he started again 4 games. So, point being, it's not like he didn't get chances. It's not like he didn't get opportunities, or that the idea that's not over a year ago. That's last season. So the idea that he didn't get a look and that Ruben Amorim has never given him a shot or that he's not gotten a chance is just false. Come on, man. It's just not true. People really rate Kabi Menu. I understand. I agree. I think that he has things to work on and that he can be in the future of the club. But at the moment, it's not like he didn't get a chance to impress the club, the coaches, and to work his way as a starter. He got a chance. He didn't. He didn't do enough to earn that spot over other players. There's no guarantee in this. When does he deserve? We don't know that type of thing. We just don't. I'm sorry to say. We just don't know. It's like, this is just where it gets ridiculous. It's like, yeah, I do think being unwilling to sign a contract is a factor in players getting chances. That's been true of every manager at United for a long time. Signing a contract is usually a way you confirm and affirm your commitment to the club, which generally managers and clubs are looking for. I know that under Solskjaer, he wanted players to sign new contracts in order to play, especially young players. He was asking them to do so in order to commit themselves to the club to play. I know that for sure that was true. Same happened with some others, but like, I don't know, man. I agree. I would personally like to see Kabi Menu play more, and I'd like to see Bruno Fernandes benched from time to time. I certainly would. But I'm also not in charge. Like, it's very weird. It's just We're never gonna agree on this. We're never gonna agree on this. Considering the results, the idea of being frustrated with the lack of minutes is fair. Mount's been injured numerous times during the same period and being given opportunities. But there's a good point, Stuart. Let's talk about that exact point. Every single manager that has ever coached Mason Mount tries to get him on the pitch. Do you think it's an accident? Do you think it's an accident that every single coach who has ever coached Mason Mount speaks so incredibly highly of him and does everything they can to get him on the pitch whenever he's fit? Is that an accident, or is Mason Mount doing something that makes him undroppable for most managers for whatever reason? Is he just like, does he pay them? Is there some magic that he does, or does he just do it? Something. He must be doing something, because it's every coach he's ever worked under adores him. Every coach that has ever worked under him adores him. I guess they're all wrong, you know? Like, that to me speaks to that there is a way for players to earn that spot. I mean, otherwise we're just talking about, I don't know, man. Otherwise we're just talking about, I don't know what. What are we talking about otherwise? You know, Mount's been one of our best players, if not our best player this season. So clearly he's earned that right. You know, there has to be like, I don't know. Like, the same applies for Bruno and Dalot under Amram, so that doesn't work. Well, that doesn't make any sense. I'm not talking about Bruno and Dalot. I'm talking about the point on Mason Mount earning his way back in the team. Dirty work player, need those in defense and midfield, don't need those on attack. Fair enough. I mean, yeah. I mean, just the reality is, I would like to see, like, take Casemiro. Here's all I'm saying about this. What's the implication? What is the implication that is being made here? Why not just come out and say it? What is the implication? Because Ruben Amorim said he didn't rate Casemiro when he came in, and Casemiro was able to convince him. So this idea that like other players can't convince him, to me, doesn't make sense. So what is the implication here? Lenny Yoro worked his way into the teams. Lamans has worked his way into the team. Casemiro worked his way back into the team. A guy with no legs worked his way back into the team. Mason Mount has worked his way back into the team. So what's the implication here? You know, the reason why that he would have some grudge against Kobbie Mainoo. I really want to know, because this is just like, this is what happens. It's not just Bruno. He's tried him at the 10. He's tried him at the 6. He's tried him at the 8. De Ligt has convinced him and worked his way into the team over Harry Maguire. Almost everybody has. So what's the implication? There's so many, and most of them don't speak Portuguese. So what is the implication here? You know? Because it's clear that players can earn their place into the team. And this is where I just go, the conversation loses me from a perspective, because I look at it and go, this is where we're at very often, you know, that none of them are competing with Bruno, but he didn't have a decision over his position before this. So he clearly didn't convince at the 10. He didn't convince at the 6. And that leaves him only being able to play in one position. Correct? True or not? Because he said many times that he was, that he wasn't sure what position he is. No, I'm not saying it's like, what I'm saying, Amy, is that because clearly I don't think people are implying it's a race thing, even though they do the semi-racist Portuguese shit, which is trash, by the way, just trash. Like, come on, man. But what I'm saying is that there's an implication that he has some personal vendetta against Kobbie Mainoo. And I just don't understand that. There's no implication that there's some personal vendetta here. He tried him at the 10, he tried him at the 9, he tried him at different positions to try to put him into the team, okay? So now we're saying, well, okay, let's say he's competing with Bruno because that's the only position he can play. All right. Well, even if Bruno deserves to be benched or rotated a little more, which I think he does, is Kobe better than Bruno Fernandes? Probably not. Probably not. And Bruno will just end up being there. Has Bruno, we can say, but here's the silly implication of that, okay? Here's the silly implication of that. We say Bruno is Amram's favorite. Why? Why would Bruno be a favorite for Ruben Amram? Just like he was, by the way, again, under 4 other managers. Every single manager has made Bruno the talisman of their team. Okay? So what is the point here? Again, you know? What is the point again? What's the implication? That Bruno's only playing because he's Portuguese? Is that what we're going to imply now? Because it's like I try to go back and forth with shit. I can be critical of Bruno, but then I'm also defending him at the same time, because now it's like you have a Bruno agenda. Then at the same time, you get people going, well, Bruno's shit. Well, hold on a second. You think he's playing because he's Portuguese? Okay, well, whatever. Whatever. It's bias. It can't be because Bruno works harder and plays better in training. It's the only, for Dallo, so I don't have an explanation. Do you not think that Bruno trains better and works harder than anybody else in training? Probably does. And that's probably why he starts, as much as I would disagree with it. As much as I disagree with it at times, that's why he's playing. You're comparing a 20-year-old to a 31-year-old. I know. Exactly. Kobe hasn't. He has, though. Like, when you talk about young players getting chances at big clubs, it's usually substitute minutes. Kobe has played in 6 straight games. 45 minutes against Burnley, 28 minutes against City. He started against Grimsby, 3 minutes against Chelsea. That was pretty small. 24 minutes against Brentford, and 13 minutes against Sunderland. He's gotten chances. Young players get chances usually in substitute minutes, especially when we just don't have a lot of games to rotate. That's where we are right now. I don't have an implication. I don't have an implication. I don't think it's personal. I don't think it's personal. And again, it has nothing to do with the manager. I would like to see Kobe Mainoo play more. But I do not believe that that players should be briefing the media regularly about leaving. About being treated unfairly, this and that. I think these are conversations you go and you have with your own club. That you have with the staff there. That you don't have agents running around making noise constantly, writing stories every single week. I'm just never going to be on board with that. I don't care what player it is. Doesn't matter to me. I'm never going to be on board with that. At the same time, I'd love to see Kobe play more. That's all. And again, people will go back and forth on this, and then they'll wonder. And then they will wonder. Yeah, there is no agenda with Kobe. I sat in the room with Ruben Amorim when he said he has big plans for him.
Bruno will cost us games. We'll see who's better.
You're right. We will see who is better. I want to see Kobe play. I want to see Kobe play. What I'm not doing, is going to constantly flip-flop. What I'm not going to do is constantly flip-flop on that. The same thing. It's the same thing. Players should work hard to try to earn their place in the team. And I'm not saying he's not. But briefing the media will never help you. Briefing the media will never help you. Okay? It just won't. And I said it like 8 months ago. I said it in January, okay? Here's the nonsense around it. All right, I'm going to back it up and I'm going to speak about it one more time, and then we're going to move on to something else. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. The whole thing is bullshit. This story first started in January. Okay? This story first started in January. Let's go look at Kobbie Mainoo's record in January. He was playing every single game during that period of time. This drama started in January, and I told you in January that the club did not want to sell Kobbie Mainoo. Okay? This whole thing is actually bullshit. That's the truth of it. This story started in January. Ruben Amorim was 1.5 months into the job. He was playing Kobbie Mainoo every single week and starting him every single week at that point in time, 10 out of 11 games. And his agent was going to the media and saying the club were trying to sell him to try to negotiate something on a contract. The club were trying to get him to agree a new deal. The club were trying to get him to stay. He and his agent were leaking shit about being sold. They started this problem. And I would not be surprised if that's the reason he's not playing that much. They started this problem. He was starting games at that time. He was being given a chance. And then there was all these reports about how they wanted to cash in on him, which were false. They were not trying to sell him. They were trying to get him to get a new contract. And they were in talks with him over the new contract, and they've offered him 4 new contracts. Maybe he just needs to agree to a new deal. And stop spreading bullshit about how the club's trying to get rid of him. Because that doesn't show the commitment that they, nor the manager, nor anybody in this football club will want out of a player. I said then his agent was doing him absolutely no favors. This has been going on for a long time. This situation with Kobbie has been going on well before Ruben Amorim, and it has a lot to do with his agents. And I'm not a fan. And I said then, I think they're going to ruin this whole thing with him and the club. And that's what I think is going on. So for me, it's not Kobbie versus Amorim or this or that. It's an agent that is making a lot of noise out of a young player's career that is causing a lot of drama. In that same time period, Ahmad agreed a new contract, and he's playing every game. No drama. No talk of leaving. No nothing. He committed to stay. Everything has gone forward from them. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the problem that's going on. I can't say it for sure. I can't say it's for sure. But there is an issue here that has more to do with that is before, that is well before this current situation. And it's very easy to blame everything on this current situation. But his agent was trying to worm offers for him and ways out as far back as January, putting stories about Kobbie Mainoo being sold to Chelsea all the way back in January. So, no, I'm not going to turn on this. I've had the same opinion as I did back then. The club want him to stay. The manager wants him to stay. It's his side that is creating most of the drama on this. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. People don't like to hear it. But that is the truth. It is his side that is creating most of the problem on this. It's been years of trying to get a new contract nailed down. We can't just go throwing the money around. And the club's offer to him was, as I understand it, quite fair, around the same as what Ahmad was getting. You know? So people just need to accept some reality here, honestly. Because if you actually looked at the facts of how this story has played out, it started a long time ago. It started a long time ago. And I think it has a lot to do with his representatives, which I called out back then and I will still call out today. I think they're doing him no favors and it's going to be a problem. I think that's crap. I think it's unfortunate, and I think that you're not doing it's you're picking the wrong enemy by trying to make it a toxic environment, and it's not going to help you at all. That's it. That's it. Right? So I think that there's some responsibility that has to be taken here on this whole factor. No, I did not say it was a training and performance issue. I said we don't know about any of those because we're not in training. I never said it was a training issue. I said we don't know if he trains better or worse than anybody else. We don't know. We don't know. I want him to stay. I hope he gets more chances, but I think there are issues. And yes, exactly that, Ali. His agency is notorious for making drama. They are. You should look up about the guy who used to own his agency, got fucking arrested or whatever for sex trafficking after he retired. So anyway, there's no reflection on Kabi, obviously. But yeah, that agency has caused trouble. Okay? That agency has caused a lot of trouble. I don't think they're doing any favors. The strategy is intentional. Yeah, I agree. I think that what they want is for people to have this discussion, this fight between manager and player and all sorts of shit. That's what I think they want. I think it suits them. It wouldn't be the first time, and it will not be the last time that that agents are trying to get rid of managers and do things like that, in order to, to work things out better for their players. It's not the first time, and it won't be the last time. But at the same time, yeah, the agency makes more money if a sale happens. There's all sorts of things. So, no, look, I think agents have a serious problem. I mean, it was the same thing with Pogba. Pogba is a wonderful guy. Everything I've heard about Pogba was great. His agent was an absolute dickhead that Sir Alex hated and wouldn't deal with and despised as a human being. Rest in peace, mind you, but still, that is the truth, right? Sir Alex did not like Mino Raiola, and Mino Raiola was the problem between Pogba and United. Agents create these situations and they create this drama. I'm not having an attack on Kabi Menu. I'm pissed off, frankly, that it turns into this big fucking drama between the player and the club and the manager, because what's going to happen is you have players who are going to look at it. You have fans who are looking at it and saying, well, screw Kabi Menu then. I don't like that either. I don't like that either. Kabi Menu is not the villain here, but this is what agents do. And I think it's poor. I think it's poor that they do this. It's exactly why Ferguson hated Raiola, for the exact reason. It's exactly that. So no, it pisses me off because then we sit here arguing about it, and I shouldn't have, because it's not about that. It's the agent, and it has been since the start. And I forgot the exact whole long run of this, that it actually started back in January. Should we loan Kabi? Maybe. I wouldn't be opposed to it. If he can't play that much right now, maybe we do loan him and let him play. I'd be okay with that. I'm not opposed to Kabi if he needs to go temporarily and play. Then cool. It's fine with me. These things don't bother me. You know what I mean? These things don't bother me. I think Kabi's great, and I think he's the future of this club as well. But I'm just not a fan of the agent aspect and the way that this is being played out in public. I'm just not a fan of it at all, and I never will be. So that's kind of the drama. Yeah. Raiola did a whole lot of stuff. Yeah, exactly that, Michael. The agents create these narratives to pit everyone against each other. I mean, look at what people are saying. Well, can't wait, for Kabi will outlast Ruben. Well, Martial's agent said the same thing, and then what happened? Who paid for it? The club paid for it. We ended up stuck with Martial for 4 more years when he could barely stay fit because the agent played the club and played up the fan base against Jose, even more than Pogba did. His agent came out publicly and said he will outlast Jose Mourinho. He publicly said it. And we bought into it at that time. Woodward bought into it. Crazy. These things set the club back like massively when these things have happened, you know? And I'm just not a fan. I'm just not a fan. Not a fan of that. At all. From what agents do, because they truthfully that's the real drama in all of this. That's the real drama in all of this. That's really where we're at. That's the truth. That's where we are at. Is that's the drama in all of this that is happening, and it is frustrating. I wonder if we've turned down a player because the agent was... Oh, many times. Many times. Many times. Many times we have turned down and not signed players because the agents were too difficult to deal with. I mean, if you want to know the truth, we should have... The whole Jadon Sancho thing was a bit of a funny one, because there was some very odd things going on with the agent during the whole first summer when we were chasing him. That should have been a bit of a red flag, and then it's been a part of the complication with this whole situation here.
All drama. Think this is the most normal we've acted in ages. Players, clubs strong-arming the club seems like it's going to be a thing of the past.
Yeah, I agree as well. I think it will be a thing of the past. Yeah, Rabiot is a good example of that as well. Yeah. I think Rabiot is an example of that. There was definitely complications with the agent there in terms of demands and things like that. There is another one I'm trying to remember from the last few years that it got messed up with the agent. There was definitely issues with Caicedo, but that was more a factor of, I think, that nobody knew who the agent actually was at the time. You know, nobody knew who the agent was at the time, from what I recall. There was a bunch of people claiming to be his agent and all of that. There was an agent asking for a weird signing on fee. Yeah, there was a story who was it? And it was like somebody wanted like a 10 million huge like signing on fee this summer. There was a story that came out, I swear. De Jong. Here's another one. All right. It was Gyökeres. Maybe we dodged a bullet here, mind you. But Gyökeres' agent, who is also Lindelof's agent, who is the same agency as Frankie de Jong, also basically was like turned him fully away from United as well. And they also played a weird game back in the day with de Jong a couple years ago. So there's another one where the agents really complicated the whole matter, and we ended up not signing both de Jong and Gyökeres for similar, reasons in the end. So yeah, I mean, it's messy. I mean, it's just part of the game, but I think it's okay, personally, to be in a position where you go, I understand Kobe wants to play more. I personally would like to see him play more. That doesn't make me agree with the way that certain things have been going about on it. I also think he should agree a contract, because the club aren't handing out contracts to players they don't intend to play. I hope people also realize that. Like, it's a different ownership than before. We're not giving out contracts to players so they can rot on the bench. They want to give contracts to players so that they can be a part of the future. We're letting most players leave. We're letting most contracts expire. If the club is offering you a contract, that is in this ownership, if the club is offering you a contract, that is because they see you as a key part of the team for the future. It's not an accident. We've given out one contract, and that's Ahmad. One. The only other player we've offered it to is Manu. He should take the hint here. His agents or whatever take the hint here and say, maybe if I agree this, I'll actually, they want me to be an important part of this team. The contracts we're not just keeping players on assets. We've even seen stories this week about Harry Maguire, right? About potentially not giving him a contract just because why? Yeah, the protection of value days are over. Exactly. We're not throwing out contracts for no reason. If the club is offering you a contract, they do mean it. You know, they do mean it. They do mean that they want to keep you. They do mean that there's a plan for you. I know that there is. I've heard it. I obviously my opinion on this is colored by an alternative side of this, which I've shared in the past. Okay, which is that I have shared in the past that the plan within the club and for Ruben Amorim was to get Kabi's commitment, get him to be a part of the long-term future and replace Bruno Fernandes, and to knuckle down, work hard, and improve at some of the areas he wants to improve in. There's a plan for him in the long term. There is, certainly. And my opinion is definitely colored by that. But it's not an opinion. I know that it was the case. I know that he wanted to keep him. I know that the club wanted to keep him. I know that the club see him as a big part of the future. I know that there was a plan in place there. I know that. The fact that he isn't committing to it is a bit of a problem for them. It is. It certainly changes because they're not going to plan around a player that won't commit to a new contract. A young player that won't commit, you know. So, I don't know. We can go back and forth on that all day. But the fact of how his agents have dealt with the situation, I don't think has made it any better. So it is what it is in that respect. I'm not sure what to do. I'm not sure what to say. You know, I'm not trying to blame everything on somebody else. It goes both ways. Yeah, I understand. The only problem is he wants to play now to go to... I know. Look, the World Cup and the international thing is a part of it, but... You know, he'll have 3 more World Cups in his career too. At the same time, it's not like it's a guarantee. You know, if he starts 2 more games... If he starts 1 more game a month rotating Bruno, is he suddenly going to get in the World Cup squad? I mean, Bellingham isn't there. Adam Wharton isn't there. There's no guarantees. You know what I mean? Like, there's no guarantees either way. I think, I'm going to say it again, guys. I'm going to say it again. Because my perspective is whenever you get shit like this going on, there's always somebody else involved. Thomas Tuchel. Thomas Tuchel knows what he's doing. Thomas Tuchel has a power fixation here with his attempts to dictate the way that teams play, and select and all that. If it wasn't a World Cup year, we didn't have that. How many touches a
6 feet 5 inches striker was allowed to take before scoring, and how unchallenged he was playing with his arms down. Bullet dodged. Sweden emoji.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. You know, we'll see. We'll see. Gyökeres, I think it's a little too early for people taking victory laps over him, but at the moment, I think that Šeško has obviously looked better, for sure, and I think that our recruitment team, Vivel, got it right, and that's great. I absolutely love when they do something that I maybe think the opposite, and they're right, because obviously that means that we do have experts in charge. You know, yeah, Delap joined Chelsea to a degree because of Tuchel, and look at him now. So I don't know. It's just a funny situation. I don't think Kabi is particularly close to being in that World Cup squad, to be quite honest. I actually don't either way. And regardless, I don't think it has anything to do with United in any respect. It's just a rough situation. We just need to be good. I mean, at the end of the day, we just need to be good. Right? Like, the fact is, let's be real. I can admit this. I agree with this 100%. If we're winning, the drama ends. If we're winning, the drama ends. Right? If we start winning, if after this break we go and we win a bunch of games, the drama ends. If United are in the top 6, nobody's going to be backing a power play from a player, no matter who they are, to be quite honest. So from Ruben Amorim's perspective, just get it right and have us winning games of football. And then the drama will end. and the same for the club. Get us back into the European places, and the drama will end. No, I mean, it will, because anybody bringing it up will be shouted down. As long as we're losing or not good, then it gets messy. And understandably so, because when you're losing, everybody's looking to point fingers, right, at why. You know, when we're losing, it's going to be because we didn't play Kabi Menu and this and that. I understand. I get it. It makes sense. I hear you. Thoughts on the Zirkzee situation? I mentioned it at the beginning, Lil Yo-Yo, but obviously there is truth in it that he's, again, another player frustrated not being in the national team, not a big part of the plans at the moment. You know,
if his agency will not accept that player FC is no longer tolerated, just sell him. We can't have this anymore.
Well, I don't also disagree with that. I would really like to see Kabi commit to the future, because I think one way or another, he's going to replace Bruno over the next 12 to 24 months. He's only 20, and he can be the future of this club. I would love to see that. I get it takes a little bit of patience, but, you know, it's like, if Amorim is successful and he stays, you have a job there to replace Bruno. If Amorim isn't successful and he leaves, you'll probably get into the team as well, as part of a 3. So why not commit either way? I don't know. But yeah, on Zirkzee, I think it's understandable why he's looking elsewhere. Same way, but he's certainly difficult to see where he fits within the plans right now. There's a question I wanted to read. Shit, I missed it like 3 times. What the hell? Disappear? Oh, never mind. It's gone. Gone. How did Amorim play it long at Sporting to Gyökeres, knowing that he is trash aerially and doesn't have good hold-up play? Is it because Portuguese league defenders are woeful? Well, one, yes. Portuguese league's defenders are poor. Portuguese league defenders are poor. I wouldn't buy defenders from the Portuguese league. There's some good ones, but like at the moment, I don't think so. Like, you saw how Højlund dealt with the Sporting center backs. That's why I've been wary of even with how much I've watched Sporting. I was like, I don't want any of those guys. But the way that he used Gyökeres is not really the way that we've seen Šeško. It wasn't long balls straight to the striker like that. A lot more often, the long balls were into the channels for running. But with Šeško, you have this is the irony of that whole discussion. Sending long balls straight up at the number 9. Was not how he did it, because Gyökeres wasn't actually good at hold up and winning it in the air like that. He was good at running into the channels. This way of playing directly into Šeško is an adaptation to the strength of the player. So for all the criticism of being inflexible, this is specifically an adaptation. Long ball straight into the striker is not his game at Sporting. That is something he's adapted with the addition of Benjamin Šeško to the team, and as a way of getting by the press. De Bast is sort of newer into it. I think he's a really, really good player, but I'm more talking about the guys I've watched a lot of: Inacio, Diomande, the guys who were there at Sporting for years. I think De Bast has potential to be very good. Those guys are not it. I would avoid them. Antonio Silva at Benfica, I'd avoid all those guys that we've been linked with over the years on many, many occasions. So, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, different stories there. But look, I mean, I did my video this morning. If you haven't watched it, I would recommend it. I think it's pretty obvious with United what's kind of going wrong. United are really good at attacking and creating chances. They're not great at defending chances yet. They actually limit the number of chances that teams get, but we give up some big ones, and a big part of it is the keeper, and the second biggest part of it is the midfield. Is the midfield not tracking properly? They got to just calm down a little bit. So. Yeah, but, I don't know, man. Like I was saying there, that my whole disagreement with this tactical thing is that this idea that football is solved, there's this idea that continues to be stated as if football is solved, if that football is finished, that everybody knows how football works. That there's only one way to play, and now it's this and now it's not, but it always goes in circles. It always goes in circles. Football is very cyclical, as all sports are. There tends to be no one way to solve the game. We start going long, teams back off their press, we're able to play through more. Then you have going long as an option. Like there's many different things that work, in football. This whole current meta, this direct attacking play, this direct running, this direct fast transitions and all of that was a reaction to Pep Guardiola and his pass style for a long time. I mean, even Enrique over at PSG played mostly counter-attacking transition-based football in the Champions League to win it. It was mostly playing fast and aggressive in transitions. For a team that usually dominates possession, pass a million times, they played differently in the Champions League as a tactic, So there's plenty of variation, in the way that we want to play. Last time we sat on a stream here and waited for an indie tweet, it was just utter nonsense. I mean, it's been pretty much utter nonsense time and time again. I mean, is it going to be...
He said it when he got here. The level of player needed at United is higher than at Sporting. I'm glad we didn't get the guys we were linked to.
Yeah, I agree as well. It is... We don't need to load up on players from Sporting. We don't. We don't need that. But yeah, the league is becoming more intentional long balls. And the thing about it is it's not like the long ball way of playing is not, just punting it up high with a prayer. They were intentional. And going long against Liverpool probably will kill him, honestly. It's probably our best bet. But the other thing that's fake, by the way, is that the first 30 minutes against Sunderland, we built up. The first 30 minutes against Sunderland, we built up play. We played through Sunderland. Just watch the first 30 minutes again if you need to know. We played through Sunderland for that 30 minutes. Once we got a 2-goal lead and they switched to a back five to go man-to-man to increase the press, what did we do? We started going long over the press. And it worked. They were unable to create anything, and we kept the game at a purely neutral game state at 2-0. So yeah, it's whatever. The idea is, like I said, there's always something, and this was kind of the point. This was kind of the point of of what I was saying here in this. It's because it's the same discussion about Cobby, and it's the same discussion about tactics, and it's the same this, and it's the same that. When you're not winning enough games, everything is wrong. And everyone's going to point to every little thing to find reasons. They're going to say, that's the reason, 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 that's the reason. Most of them are not going to be true. When you're winning, people can't point to a lot of those things anymore. When you're winning, people can't point to a lot of that at this point in time. United have to be winning. The reality is, where we stand today, United have a better start than they have for the last 2 seasons. This is the best start for the last 3 seasons right now. United are progressing, and that's why the project will continue under Ruben Amorim, because there is progress. People are, obviously, we are not at the level United need to be at yet. But we are progressing. We are progressing compared to the last couple of seasons. We are doing better. And that's why they're going to continue. That's it. I mean, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens on the next break. We'll see what happens on the next break. By the next break. But there's an opportunity here. I mean, there's a real opportunity here. That's just it. Since Saturday, nobody's been talking about formation. Exactly. We win, and suddenly it's not the formation anymore because it never was. It never was. It never was. There's the problems that exist there are real. There are real problems, but they tend to be like, it's never as good and it's never as bad. When you're winning, it doesn't mean everything is good. And when you're losing, it doesn't mean everything is bad. There's usually signs either way of what's going right and what's going wrong. But it's sometimes hard to get those things exactly right as to what they are. Yeah. Yeah, in 2026 onward, these breaks will be just 1 and for 3 weeks, which is crazy to me. 3-week break, man. It's gonna kill me. We've got really real problemos. We do have real problemos. We do have a few. One of the big ones is a goalkeeper. Did you guys see this, by the way? If you didn't catch this during my video, I spotted like a really interesting stat for me. Here, I'll show you. Because I was thinking about why United are so bad defensively. And the irony of it is this. Look at where we've conceded most of our chances. Most of our expected goals. Like, look at the comparison in terms of game state, right? 3.44 of our expected goals have come in just 188 minutes while we're losing by 1 goal. That means that we're conceding like 1.75 expected goals per 90. 1.75 expected goals against per 90 when we concede that first goal. At level, we're conceding like half an expected goal per 90. Or no, it's a little more than, it's like 0.7. It's more than double. We concede more than double the chances when we go down a goal per minute. It gets more than double. And then you have to look at in the 49 minutes when we were down more than 1 goal, which was City and a portion of Brentford, we concede at an even higher rate, like almost 2 expected goals per 90. So we're bad. We're bad. We're way worse as soon as we concede than at level. Like twice as bad to 3 times as bad when we concede first than when we're level. As soon as we concede, we fucking lose our head. We lose our head. And it is a mental problem. We concede once and we lose our head. And the whole game plan goes out the window. And then it gets worse. We didn't come back against Arsenal. We didn't come back against City. We didn't come back against Brentford. We almost came back against Brentford. You know? Look at Grimsby. We concede once and then it goes really bad and we concede a second time, and that stat's not even included in there. But yeah, we lose our head when really we just need to do the same game plan that we started the game with and maintain it and not panic just because we went down a goal. The only time to panic when we go down a goal is when it's late. Then you just go for it because who cares? There's a few minutes left. You just have to go for it. When it happens early, what we have to do is not lose our head. Yeah, Bruno's a problem in that. When we go down a goal, he starts chasing the game. You know, he starts running like crazy, you know, and doing all sorts of stuff that you wouldn't necessarily want. There's no doubt that is true. You know, that he has a responsibility in that. No doubt about it. Absolutely, that is the case. But it's more than just him, but it is a mentality problem, I think, for sure. It is a mentality problem. We used to be really good at it. I think it was under Solskjaer. We used to concede first, and then we used to suddenly we would come back, and we had like the most comeback wins or something like that. But over the years, I think we just got burned out more and more and more and more. You know, and that's not good. And I think that we have to sort that out. Yeah, there would be times under previous managers where we would be asleep until we concede and then we would wake up. But yeah, it's been turning the other way for a while. New players had a shock against Grimsby, everyone. Yeah, I think people were surprised at how, like, if you ever played at Wolves and you go and play a lower tier team, you're not going to face the same amount of energy and intensity as you will if you're United. It's going to be, something they'll remember for years and years and years. You have this view that if Maguire, Shaw, Bruno, and Dalot play together, yes, I agree. The fewer of those players on the pitch at the same time, the better. Pablo, I am 100% on that. They have PTSD, man. They've got trauma. They have trauma that they can't get past, honestly. And you see it day in and day out. They have trauma. They're the first that panic, that their heads drop when something goes wrong. I think you can get away with a few of them, but the fewer the better. I agree. I think that's an issue. Does Amram want to keep players like that next season? I don't know. I think that's one of the biggest things he has to sort out, is to realize what is going on. Because that's my biggest criticism of him. I think that's what he's been getting wrong. I think that's what he's been getting wrong most the whole season. I've said many times, it's not the system, it's the players. It's the personnel selection. It's picking those players too much. And then not seeing when they're off of, when they're out of it. It's also a Dalot problem, which is, I don't know what you call a Dalot problem, man. The Dalot problem is just a Dalot problem. I don't know what you call the Dalot problem. But yeah, I like I said before, I think that is one of the biggest problems. And I think that it's something he hasn't quite sorted out yet, but maybe he's alive to. I mean, against Sunderland was the first time it seemed he noticed just how bad Diogo Dalot was. Everybody was screaming at him. Everybody was yelling at him. And then he got subbed off early. Usually he doesn't. So maybe we'll see, maybe we'll see some changes. I don't think it's because they're Portuguese. I really just don't buy that, frankly. Like, Bruno was made captain by Ten Hag, not Amorim. Dalot was made one of the key players by Ten Hag as well, Yeah, they have influence in the dressing room. Maybe that's a bad thing. Maybe that's a bad thing.
Bro PLS tell me this is Bruno's last season. He's a massive B reason we're horrible. He's been a bottler and is on stupid wages.
I think there is a really strong chance this is last season. Yeah. I think so. I think there is a strong chance this is last season. I mean, it almost was over already, but certainly there has been a lot of thinking that it could be. Doesn't that group form the bulk of the leadership group? Yeah, I think that's a bit of a worry. I think that is a serious worry. That was the guy who appears to work hard and fools the boss, but is a liability to everyone else. Yeah, I think that's part of it. It's hard to explain. I don't disagree with you guys. Yeah, 4 of the 11 players that lost 7-0. I know. When people say it's not, it's not it's not the same players. I mean, it is though. That's the thing, It is. It is the same player. Not always. Here's Indy. Bruno, there you go. There's you wanted Bruno deal? Here you go, Tubby. Let's pull it up on screen. And then I have to go. We're going to do this really quick. You wanted Bruno gone? There's your Indy Kyla Bamba, okay? Bruno Fernandes sale agreed. Baleba and Elliot Anderson incoming. We understand that Bruno will be sold to Saudi Arabia League for $100 million in summer. The deal's already agreed between all parties. He's just sorting personal terms. The funds will be used to bring in Baleba and Elliot Anderson. So there's your fiction to end it off. I mean, it could happen. It could happen. To be fair, we are looking at those midfielders, and like I was saying, I do think it'll likely be Bruno's last season. But there you go. There's your Bamba. Okay, enjoy. I gotta run. Thank you all for watching. I will see you all later. Catch you tomorrow. Make sure to catch my video from earlier, and I'll see y'all later. Okay, have a good one, everybody. Goodbye. Enjoy your evening.